So we decided to do an interview on 5 students, 2 teachers about what they stress about, how they feel about it, how they cope, and how they could prevent stress. So your name is?
Hi, my name is Kurt Evans.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions about stress.
Yep.
So what stresses you out?
What stresses me out? Well, a lot of things stress me out. I think I don't think stress is always a bad thing. Stress tends to like motivate people, and it creates some type of yeah. Go close that door. It can it sort of keeps things like moving, I guess, and it's a way to motivate and encourage individuals, all of us, to do things. What stresses me out, I guess, or what things that I don't like, is that what you mean more?
Yeah.
Like things that I really hate? Things, I guess, about, I'm the vice principal, in case you didn't catch that, of the high school here. And I think the things that stress me out are when we have to do things here at the school that don't really affect teaching or learning. So when we have to do tasks, or we have to manage things that come our way, and they're burdensome, and they're burdensome in a way that it doesn't really help anybody, but we have to still manage or still do it. So that's probably what stresses me out the most. Yeah.
Okay. So how does stress make you feel?
Well, stress, and is this for health class? You know this for? Yeah. Well, I know that stress, enough about stress, is that it's your body changes. It goes into a fight or flight mode, and so you feel physical things happening to your body because, like 5,000 years ago when we would, see a saber-toothed tiger, and we'd have to get ready to fight the tiger or run from the tiger, right? So that's kind of what my body's doing, or what all our bodies are doing when we get really stressed. And so if I have a day that's very stressful and very tense and really confrontational with people or whatever, I feel myself be really tense, physically tense. And so what helps me at the end of the day, and I've always done this my whole life, is I just do some kind of physical activity at the end of my day, either go for a run or bike ride, or now sometimes I just go for a good hard walk. But that's usually what I do at the end of the day to relieve some of the physical, because that's what your body's getting ready to do, to do a physical action. And so I don't just sit and watch TV. I do watch TV, but I try to do something physical at the end of the day to just kind of, it brings everything down.
Okay, so how do you cope or deal with it?
How do I cope, like mentally?
Yeah.
Well, I talked about how I deal with it physically. Mentally, after a while in the job, you tend to be able to separate those things that you can control and those things that you can't control. And there's just certain parts of the job that I can't control. And so I don't get really stressed about it. I mean, an example is, parents get upset about something, and maybe they come in and they're yelling and screaming, which doesn't really happen that often, but if it's something that I can't control, I guess it doesn't really stress me out. But if it's something that I can control, then I try to do something about it, and I do what I can. But if I can't do any more, then don't worry about it.
So your name is?
Angela.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions about stress. Okay. So what do you stress about?
Mostly classes.
Classes?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does stress make you feel?
Stress makes you feel a little not like when you're trying to focus on stuff and you can't really focus. So you're really technically unfocused when you're stressed. Yeah. So.
Okay, so how do you cope or deal with it?
How do you cope? Usually hiking, going on walks. I think I found drinking tea. That's another thing. So like how you take care of your body. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you think you could prevent stress?
How do you prevent stress? I think it's mostly exercising and balancing your schedule. Okay. That's very important.
Your name is?
My name is Lauren Despain.
Okay, and I'm going to ask you a few questions about stress. So what do you stress about?
I stress about schoolwork a lot, and I like to say I'm not competitive, but I am, and not winning kind of stresses me out. So.
Okay. So how does stress make you feel?
Makes me feel stressed and worried, and my heart kind of wants to die, and I don't know how to feel inside, basically.
Okay. How do you cope or deal with it?
I usually go take a nap, or I tackle the problem. Yep.
Okay, how do you think you could prevent stress?
I could probably prevent it by, you know what, I get stressed by procrastinating a lot. And so preventing stress could probably be best by not procrastinating and just tackling it and really thinking things through so you don't have stress.
So your name is?
Sandra Leon.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions about stress. So what stresses you out?
What stresses me out the most is school.
Okay, so how does it make you feel, like your body, mood, or your behavior?
Usually I'm just angry and I just want to like punch someone and I just cry when I'm stressed.
Okay, how can you deal with it?
I usually just kind of like calm down and take everything easy and.
Okay, and how could you prevent it from happening?
I can prevent it by just taking everything easy and calm and.
Tell us your name.
Mary Jo Comerford.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions about stress.
Okay.
So what do you stress about?
Well, you know, as a teacher, it's a big workload. So I stress if I have a whole bunch of stuff to correct, if I don't have time to plan lessons, if I'm busy at night but I really need to get stuff ready for the next day. I stress about those things.
Okay, how does the stress make you feel?
Sometimes it just makes me feel like fluttery, and I worry and thinking. So yeah.
Okay. How do you cope or deal with it?
You know what? I love to exercise, and if I go to yoga or I go to like a biking class or I go to the gym and work out, that's a great thing. Or if I'm worried about stuff like my kids, if I talk to a good friend.
Okay. How do you think you could prevent stress?
Well, you know, life has a certain amount of stress, but I think like pacing things, you know, and trying to make good use of time at school and stuff like that really helps.
Your name is?
Jason Nunez.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions about stress. What do you stress about?
When I'm put on the spot, like during this interview.
Okay.
Okay.
How does stress make you feel?
It makes me feel like rushed, I guess. Like I just gotta like kind of frantic.
Okay. How do you cope or deal with it?
Just let it happen, I guess. Like, gotta be an end to it eventually.
Okay. How do you think you could prevent stress?
I'm not really sure. Because if there was a way to prevent stress, everyone would do it, and then it would be a non-stressful world.
So your name is?
Greg Garza.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a few questions about stress. What do you stress about?
Not passing my classes because then I'm gonna have to retake them next year, and I'm gonna be a super senior.
Okay. So how does stress make you feel?
Sad, mad, and yeah, that's right. Sad and mad.
Okay. So how do you cope or deal with stress?
I listen to music and I eat food.
Okay, so how do you think you could prevent stress?
Study for a test earlier, and yeah.
Your name is?
Giselle Vega.
Okay, so what do you stress about?
School, and since it's our senior year, graduating.
Okay, how does stress make you feel?
Overwhelmed.
Okay, how do you cope or deal with it?
Just kind of leave it until later.
How do you think you could prevent stress?
Keeping up with stuff and talking to people.
To prevent stress. Dude, no! So how do you deal with stress?
I eat my feelings.
No, record for 2 seconds and then let me see how it looks.
Oh, can you? You should say.
Homework, so like, the next day when I go to school, I don't restart.
Oh.
No! No! No, I'm just gonna be like. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions about. So your name
Go.
is.
Okay, yeah.
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 Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few questions. Guys, I can't.